Home sellers, it is one thing to dream about a bidding war, but it's an entirely different thing to survive and thrive when the bullets are flying. I've sold over 2,500 homes, roughly 50 times more than the average realtor does in a whole career. And today I'm going to take you behind the scenes of a real listing that got 7 offers. You'll hear exactly how we organized, compared, and negotiated those offers to pick a winner, set up backups, and squeeze every last dollar and term for the seller. This is how we do it. So stick around, we'll show you how to get everything you want from your best buyer. All right, let's go. Welcome to Talking Realty, the podcast for home sellers who want to make more money, save time, and avoid headaches. I'm Glen Whitten, founder of the Ohio Property Group, where we do the same things as traditional realtors, but instead of charging a giant 6% commission, we charge a low, flat fee. So you keep more money and still get better results. Check out all the free seller tools at talkingrealty.com. And if you love the show, hit that subscribe button. Now, let's get to it. Hey folks, before we get started, I just want to say that the subject property of this episode is very real, but the details and names have been changed to protect the guilty. Anyway, a little while back, we launched this property and things just went nuclear almost immediately. So Tasia and I spent the next few days running our multiple offer playbook. During the storm that was all these offers rolling in and being worked through, Tasia and I talked about how cool it would be if we could record all the twists, all the turns to show sellers how we generate, how we manage, and how we lock down multiple offers. So that's what we decided to do with this episode. But before we got to the point of having all these offers, I got to tell you exactly how we got here. So a little while back, we listed this house, and as per normal, during the onboarding process, we did a market analysis. That report showed that this property was probably going to land somewhere in the mid 230s to maybe low 240s. So we recommended listing at 215, maybe 220. So why, you might ask, if we thought it was going to go higher, would we list it lower? Because if you want a bidding war, you need bidders. And to get bidders, you always start below what you think market value might be. By the way, I'm working from pages 3 and 38 of our home seller toolkit. And yes, you can download the entire toolkit at talkingrealty.com or check the show notes. It's free. Enjoy. So keep in mind, truth number 1, the market never lies, not ever. So if we're under market value, then the market, i.e. multiple buyers, are going to push this property's price back to where it belongs. So the seller was super nervous, which we see this a lot, but in the end, he said, okay, I'll roll with you. Let's put it out there. So it sparked a lot of attention, and the showing calendar took off almost immediately. According to my notes, we booked about 10 showings within the first 90 minutes of hitting the market. And this was on a Tuesday for all those experts who tell you that you should always list a property on Thursday. So we got all these showings stacking up. And so that's signal number 1 that we're probably walking into a bidding war. The first few agents that went through it start firing off buyer signals, which is, do you have any offers? Or what's the offer deadline? Or what is the seller looking for? The cool thing is, now you start to stack up all the evidence. We came in with what we believed was a below market price. Then we got a ton of showings right away. Now I'm starting on day 1, mind you, on this Tuesday, to get feedback from agents that tells me we're going to head into multiple offers, because they don't ask those questions. If the property's been on the market for 2 weeks and it's marketed above market price, you're not going to get questions like, do you have any offers? Or do you have deadlines? Sure, maybe 1 out of 100, but every agent who walked through it is starting to ask me these questions. So I know we're onto something. Now, it is possible that you have a property that's priced below market, but nobody knows about it. So in that case, we would call you priced well, but under marketed. So if you're not in the MLS and you're not on hundreds of websites, odds are you're leaving money on the table, but I'll save that for another day. So we get the first offer domino to fall on the afternoon of the first day. So we looked at the showing calendar. We saw that we had another 20 showings booked. And we recommended that the seller set an offer deadline for Thursday night with responses due after that. And I'll tell you exactly how we announce that here in a little bit. But if you want the deep dive on how to trigger a bidding war and how to weaponize offer deadlines, I cover that in depth with podcast episodes 15 and 16. So go back, check that out. I'll link to them in the show notes. Fast forward, over the next couple of days, we ended up with 7 offers in hand and nearly 35 showings, I believe, in the first 48 hours. Now you're all caught up. But before you do anything else, the very first thing you need to do when you're going to set an offer deadline is you need to contact anyone who's already put in an offer. Do this first, because if you do these things out of sequence, they lose their effectiveness and possibly have bad consequences. This is right out of our multiple offer playbook. So the first things first, contact anybody who's put an offer in. And the hurdle here is how not to lose offers that are already on the table. So a lot of times when you announce an offer deadline, you lose some of your best buyers who have already submitted their offer. They don't want to get into a bidding war, so they take their ball and they go home. So going back to COVID, when multiple offers were basically the norm, we told sellers, because we were tracking it, to expect roughly half of any buyer who had an offer on the table to walk away when they hear highest and best. We've since developed an email that has almost completely mitigated that. And we did it out of necessity because I was getting tired of seeing some of my best buyers walk away when we announced the deadline. But here's the secret email that we developed. Now, I've never shared this before, and I will tell you that it is nearly 100% successful. So here is the secret email. It goes like this. Hi, we have received multiple offers on this property. So the sellers have elected to call for the highest and best offers by, in this case, Thursday night. We have your offer, so you're good. Unless I hear differently from you, I'll submit this as your highest and best. If you have any updates, let me know. Best of luck. If you're sending it out yourself, you would just say, hi, we have received multiple offers on our property, so we have elected to call for highest and best offers by Thursday. We have your offer, so you're good. So unless I hear differently from you, I'll assume this is your highest and best. If you have any updates, let me know. Best of luck and thanks. If you stick to that script, it is highly unlikely that people will walk away. Mileage may vary, but I can tell you this has been very successful for us. All right, so this lets them know before you announce it publicly. Some agents just go in and announce the highest and best, and I think that that is damaging. I think you're going back to our 50% loss rate if you don't take this extra step. Second thing, you want to move in to a whisper campaign. Run through everyone that has shown the property or that will be showing the property and let them know that you're announcing a highest and best deadline. And I like to approach this as though I am overwhelmed with gratitude. All right, here it is. You ready? Thank you so much to everyone who showed or will show the house and those who have already submitted offers. We have set a highest and best deadline for Thursday night with responses due after that. As always, we reserve the right to accept any offer before the deadline. Now, not only have you put all these agents on notice about the highest and best offer deadline, but you are absolutely activating truth number 11, which is nothing motivates a buyer like another buyer, or in this case, a lot of other buyers. Bonus, when you send out this whisper campaign, the people who have already put in offers are likely on the same list. When buyers and agents who've already submitted offers get your whisper campaign, it reinforces the urgency and it also adds a lot of legitimacy to your email about multiple offers. So after you've contacted your offers one at a time, you've done your whisper campaign to all the past and future showings, you're going to go ahead and announce this in the MLS and publicly with the following language. Seller is calling for all highest and best offers by Thursday night. Seller may accept any offer before the deadline. But once again, this reinforces to the offer people that got the email, to the whisper campaign, to the showing people that you are moving forward, that things are happening. Urgency goes way up, and the legitimacy of all your other moves are starting to stack up. So with any luck, we now have taken a little smoky fire and turned it into a blazing inferno, which is what we're shooting for. Hey, real quick, if you're thinking about selling, don't do it without our ultimate home selling toolkit. It's totally free and it's packed with the exact forms, contracts, and checklists that we use every day to manage hundreds of home sales a year. Whether you're selling for sale by owner or you just want to know what to expect, this thing is pure gold. So download your free copy at talkingrealty.com or check the show notes for the link. Seriously, hit the pause button and go do it now so you can follow along. All right, back to the podcast. So before we start looking at offers, you'll need a couple of tools so you can follow along. So if you're working out of my home seller toolkit, go to page 48 and look for the offer worksheet. Print off as many as you need, one for each offer. And then there are also 2 pages of how we review offers individually, just one-on-one. Sidebar, I just talked to Tasia, my daughter, who also reviews offers for us, and she said I can promise you an upcoming episode where you see how she deep dives offer reviews. She does a ton of these. So you know exactly how we do each individual offer. So we're not going to do that today. I'm just going to show you what we do with the 7. After you get the offer review checklist filled out for each offer, you're going to transfer the main pieces of information over to page 50 of the toolkit, which is the multiple offer worksheet. And that's going to be the star of today's show. And for those of you listening, I promise I will recite the information as we go. But if you head to talkingrealty.com, you'll find the video versions of every episode. It's also on our YouTube channel. Might be more helpful for this one so you can follow along. So as you work through each offer, make sure all the details are filled in. If you're missing anything, like a pre-approval letter, or maybe there was a blank that wasn't filled out properly in the offer. This happens with rookie realtors all the time. They don't know what something is, so they leave it blank. That's, depending on how it's worded, it's probably not valid to do that, so you got to clean that up. But if you're missing information that's called for on this multiple offer worksheet, you need to stop and go get it. You don't want to go through all of this, have a great offer, come to the surface, and then have it fall apart over some BS detail. So nail that stuff down right now. And you got to remember, if you need something from the buyer, the buyer's agent, or the lender, their motivation is extremely high, especially the agents and lenders, because folks, they have to win the bidding war and they have to make it all the way to closing to get paid. And I don't like to beat people over the head with it. I kind of like them to pick up on the fact that I'm not beating them over the head with it. This is very subtle. So I like to use phrases like, as we're working through all the offers, we noticed, and then you tell them what's wrong. Or before I can narrow it down to the top offers, I'm going to need you to send me, all right, so you haven't said, hey, idiot, we're in multiple offers. Why are you not sending me this stuff? Okay, you don't want to do that. It's putting holes in the love tank. Don't be doing that. They're competing with other buyers. It should cause them to go into high gear and get you what you need, as we say, RFN, which means right freaking now. Very important. So let's take a look at these 7 offers as they exist on my handy dandy multiple offer worksheet. Now that I have all my offers on my multiple offer worksheet, I'm going to run through left to right and look for winning terms. Now, naturally, price gets called out. It gets a lot of attention. So you're going to highlight the top 2 or 3 offers in green and maybe the next couple in yellow, maybe have a red one in there if it's really, really stinky, but like deal breaker stinky, but that really wasn't the case here. If there are escalators, I'm going to let you work through those. And in that case, you're going to highlight the highest escalated price. Now, I do promise you that I will do an episode on escalation clauses because they're very, very confusing, even to realtors. There are actually realtors out there who will put in their highest and best language or write in the broker notes, no escalators, because they don't know how to deal with them. But for the uninitiated, an escalation clause is a lot like eBay proxy bidding, if you're familiar with that. So you've got all these people bidding on the same item. You can tell eBay, listen, this is my bid for now, but because I have a life and I can't just sit here and stare at eBay all day, I'm going to tell you what the most I would pay is. So if someone else bids me up, you can keep bidding for me until we reach my maximum amount. And they get 2 numbers for you. One is how far over next best bid do you want to go? And then what's your max? Like what's the most you'll pay for this item? Well, it's the same here. So if I've got an offer price, in this case of $225, this particular buyer is telling me I will go $1,000 over the next best offer that comes in. If it's higher than $225, I will beat it by $1,000 all the way up to this number, $242,000. So that's all it is. Don't get caught up. Don't get caught up in anything else. I also get that this can be very, very, very confusing and you don't want to make a mistake. Now, I do these manually because I'm obsessive and I've been at this for 25 years. But I also created a handy dandy tool for us called an escalation calculator. How about that? I've gone through and I've keyed in all the initial offers for the 7 offers we got. 5 of those offers had escalation clauses. So now I've got all these escalation clauses triggering each other. So it's, if you can imagine all these fireworks going off every time, it's like 4th of July down here. So what ended up happening is offer 1, because of all of the escalations, ended up at $242,000, their max. They were triggered to that max by offer 6. Offer 6 came in at $241,000 with no escalation. 1 said they would beat the best offer by $1,000 up to $242,000. So that's where we landed. So back to our multiple offer worksheet. Here we go. We're going to start highlighting. This is obviously green, meaning offer 1 escalated price of $242,000 is the highest. So I'm going to highlight that in green. And then I'm going to look for the next highest one. So offer 6 ended up at $241,000. So that gets a green. The rest of them, I'll just make them all yellow. So here we go. So I'm highlighting all these yellow. So offers 2, 3, 4, and 5 ended up at $228,000, $230,000, $225,000, and $230,000 respectively with all of their escalations. Offer 7 ended up at $232,000 after escalation. They all get marked as yellow. So if you can see this on the screen, great. If not, I've got offers 1 and 6 have a green highlighter on the price. Everybody else gets a yellow highlighter. Next, I'm going to go term by term and do this exact same thing, but they won't be nearly as complicated as the price. So the earnest money, as you know, I like a lot of earnest money. So here we go. Offer 4 shows up with $10,000 in earnest money. Clearly, they're trying to get our attention. So I'm going to make that green. And then really anybody who's near or above 1% of the deal. So in this case, offer 3 offered us $2,500 in earnest money on a $230,000 offer. That's above 1%. So I'll go ahead and mark that green. I've got offer 7, which is just under 1%. I'm going to give them a sort of a gimme on that, and I'm going to make them green as well because they offered $2,000. Everybody else offered $1,000 or less. So we're going to go through and we're going to highlight each of those and we're going to turn them yellow. Seller concessions. Now this is where the buyer wants a kickback at closing to offset some of their costs. So effectively it lowers their offer, it lowers the net. Now, I don't know about you, but if I know I'm in a competitive situation, why in the world would I ask the seller to then kick back money to me? I don't get that, to be honest, because not only is it lowering the seller's net, but it shows the seller, or at least strongly indicates to the seller, that I'm a weak buyer. Like, why do I need this extra cash back at closing? What if we run into an inspection or appraisal issue? If I'm already asking for cash back to help with my closing costs, the seller can pretty much infer that I don't have the cash to make up any inspection or appraisal issues. So that automatically makes offer 2 very unattractive. So we're going to give that one a yellow highlight. I would almost give it a red one, to be honest with you. But anyway, we're going to highlight all the others which are not asking for any concessions, and we're going to paint those green. Next is loan type. I actually did an episode with my buddy Rex from Union Home Mortgage. We talked about the strengths or weaknesses of the different loan types as a seller. Should an FHA buyer be scarier than a conventional? Now, to me, the only thing I classify above these is cash. If they're paying me cash, it's just so much less to deal with. But outside of that, I personally don't care. I think they all have their merits. But the seller, in this case, told us he preferred conventional over FHA, even after we talked about it. So we're going to go ahead, since we advise and they decide, I'm going to highlight the 3 offers, which would be offer 1, offer 4, and offer 7 were all conventional. We had no cash offers. So those are green. Offers 2, 3, 5, and 6 were all FHA. So I'm going to highlight them. I'm going to highlight for the seller, conventional, 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 and then the other offers, yellow, that are FHA. Okay, title insurance. Now, all of these offers came in on a local board form. But when we're reviewing offers, we RTFC, which means read the freaking contract. So I'm not going to put my stamp on an offer review if I haven't read the whole offer. And I mean the whole offer. Well, what we found in that process is that one buyer, offer number 3, offered to pay the entire title insurance premium. That's unusual for this area. This is normally a split, or it varies across the whole state of Ohio, but in this particular region where this house is, it's almost always a 50-50 split if they ask for title insurance. Well, everybody asked for it, and everybody went with the 50-50 split, meaning the seller was going to have to pay, I don't know, maybe $800 or $900 for their share. Well, in this case, offer number 3 said, hey, we'll pay for the title insurance ourselves. So they're trying to use what they got to make it more competitive. All right, so we're going to give everybody else a yellow, and buyer 3, offer number 3, gets a green because they offer to pay for title insurance. All right, utility holds. This is another one of those little things. It's not a lot, but everything adds up. And sometimes with 7 offers, you're down to just a handful of dollars that separate number 1 from number 7. So a fine line. So it gets put into the offer and you have to look for it. Otherwise, you're going to have a little surprise at closing when you see that somebody has allocated some of your money to pay for a water or sewer bill that might be lingering. So I'm going to take everybody that didn't ask for one, which is offers 3 and offer 5. Neither of them asked for a utility hold. I'm going to give them a green, and everybody else gets yellow. No one asked for a home warranty. Very unusual, but it happened. In a case where all 7 offers are exactly the same on something, I usually just leave it blank because it's not a determining factor anymore. They're all the same, so it makes no difference. Here's a big one in multiple offers, and that's appraisal gap coverage. Essentially, the buyer is guaranteeing if there's a low appraisal, they'll make up the difference in cash up to a certain amount. So keep in mind, there's what I will do and what I can do, and very often they're not the same thing. So take offer 3, for example. Offer 3 was not the highest offer, but they're offering 100% appraisal gap. So meaning if the property appraises for $0, they'll pay cash. Well, if they could pay that much cash, they would. What they're really saying is, we have access to cash, but we're going to get financing. They're offering to cover any shortfall in the appraisal because they're very confident that either A, they have a lot of money, or B, it's not going to be an issue for appraisal. I don't think it will be, but that remains to be seen, right? That's not part of this story. They offer 100% appraisal gap. I'm going to give them a green stamp. That's offer 3. Offer 7 offered $5,000, which is a very reasonable number on this price. That's quite a bit, actually. Okay, everybody else offered none. So they get yellow. Finally, the commission. Offer number 1, the buyer agent would like 3-2. And what it means is the commission is 3% of the first $100,000 and 2% of the balance. I've got some Yahoo. Offer number 2 wants 3.5%. We just don't see, especially in competitive situations, we don't see somebody inflating their commission, especially on an offer that's as low as this one. So this offer is very rapidly reaching the bottom of my list. So I'm going to make that one red just because it's such an awful thing. All right, everybody else's, it looks like 3.2 or 2.5. And I got one here at 2%. So I'm going to give them a green highlighter because that is low. That's what I would do if I were putting in my offer. So you see this buyer has done everything they can with what they got. All right, so it's not the highest offer we have. By the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, buyer agent names and company names are completely false. I made them all up. So if these are real, it's completely by accident. But anyhow, offer 2, they came in, they offered us one of the lowest numbers, and even with the escalator, they're still one of the lowest ones. And they've got all these stinky terms, right? Low earnest money, and they want 3.5% commission. So this offer is rapidly sinking to the bottom. Offer 3, on the other hand, again, not the highest offer we have, not the worst we have, but look at all the other terms, right? They're offering a lot of earnest money. They don't want any concessions. They are offering to pay all the title insurance. They don't want a home warranty. They don't want a utility holdback. They're willing to cover all the appraisal gap. And this agent only wants 2% commission. I know only is still a lot of money, but still, this offer is fighting hard to get this deal. These are the little things that separate an offer. All right, so moving on, we've got everybody else at 3.2 or 2.5, which in this case is almost the same number. So I'm going to mark them yellow. So just to recap, I've got offer 1, 4, 5, 6, and 7, all yellow on commission because they're all right around 2.5%. Offer 3 gets a green stamp because it's the lowest. It's a 2% commission. Offer 2 gets a red stamp because they're at 3.5%. Next, the money number, estimated seller net. Quick sidebar, estimated seller nets, we can do these for you. So if you go to our website and look at the bottom of every page, there's a menu. And that menu, one of them says seller net sheet. Click on it, tell us a few numbers, we will send you an estimated net sheet. There's also plenty of these calculators online, but if you're wanting mine, there it is. And we do them manually. I like to put my own fingers on it, but we do them for every offer for every seller. So you're going to have to trust me on the math here. The estimated seller net in this case for offer one is $231,856, which is higher than all the others. So that automatically goes green. The next highest one, $229,740, offer six. I'll take that. I'll make that green. Offer three, offer five, and offer seven are all hovering at an estimated seller net of $220,000. Then you've got offers 2 and 4 are right around 214, 215,000. I'm going to make those red. So now you're starting to see this shape up. Even if you don't look at the names, don't look at any of this stuff. Just take a look at the spreadsheet right here. You're going to see offer one has quite a bit of yellow, but a lot of green. And more importantly, the green is on the really important stuff. They're offering $242,000. They don't want any seller concessions. It's a conventional loan, and it nets my seller around $231,000. Moving over here to offer six, $241,000 offer, a little low on the earnest money. It's an FHA, which the seller told me they didn't want. They don't want any seller concessions, commission's about right. And then you end up with $229,000, almost $230,000. So that's a decent offer. But then as we look at the others, we say, well, look at offers 3 and 7. Like there's a lot of good stuff going on here. But the net is, $9,000, $10,000 below the other offers. Well, that's a significant chunk of change. You can overlook a lot of warts for that kind of money. So at the end of the day, the seller's the one who gets to decide this. But here's how I attack it now, right? I'm going to take this column because offer 2, I think we can all agree, stinks to high heaven. So we're just going to get it off my page. I didn't delete it. I just hid that column. Offer 4, same deal. Not a great offer, not terrible, and the stuff that's good isn't enough to sway it. Now we're going to start to look at some of these others. All right, now we get into a few other things. So let's look at the inspections. Did anybody waive inspections? No, they all want inspections. I'm just going to make these all yellow. Loan application days are all about the same. So I'm going to leave those blank. Closing dates, all about the same, within a week of each other. And this house is vacant, by the way, so possession is not an issue. If it were, then we would really take a deep look at the possession line and see if we had anything there. A couple of these folks put in offer deadlines. These are made up, by the way. All these dates are made up because this happened a while ago, so I just made up new dates. But anyhow, offer deadlines don't matter to me. When I'm on the sell side and I get an offer with a deadline on it, I pretty much routinely ignore the offer deadline. Because if the buyer is going to fall out of love 1 minute after the offer deadline, then we weren't going to make it to closing anyway. The only time an offer deadline matters from the buyer side, like if you're going to accept that offer without changing a single letter, a single number, a single word, then if you sign it by the time the offer deadline is here, then you have a valid contract. If you sign it afterwards, then you just have to make a note that it was signed after the offer deadline, and then the buyer has to initial it. So, but keep in mind, as big and looming as offer deadlines are for sellers, that buyer that doesn't mean they have to leave it open that long. That buyer could walk in 2 hours after they submit the offer and withdraw the offer. And you could say, well, wait, I had until tomorrow at 5. Doesn't matter. So the whole thing is smoke anyhow. It's just a psychological tactic to get you, the seller, to make a hasty decision. But unfortunately, as we go a little deeper, offer 3 has a home sale contingency. Now, the subject property is under contract and contingent, meaning they haven't passed inspections. They haven't gotten through their appraisal. This is a major red flag. Now, I've got all these other offers that don't have to sell a home, but now I'm starting to understand why they did so many things. Like if I had to present a contingent offer in a bidding war, yes, this is what I would do. I would put in as high as I could. I would offer as much earnest money as I could. I would trim as many expenses as I could from the seller. But anyway, this is unfortunately a red stamp, because if I ignore 6 offers that don't have a home sale and take an offer that has a home sale contingency, that would be negligent on my part. Now, the seller could do whatever he wants, but in this case, I'm pretty sure he's not going to like that. So unfortunately, we got to say goodbye to offer 3. So I'm going to hide that column as well. All right. Well, that leaves us with a few other things to work on. And as I said, none of this stuff matters enough to even highlight it. So we're going to skip all that. And let's look at the title companies. So these are also made up, but I kind of like this. Seller can choose. I'm a big proponent of the seller controlling the title choice. There are way too many expenses that get thrown at sellers from title companies who are affiliated with the buyer's broker. It's generally not a great idea. Now, if it's affiliated with your listing agent, that's a different story, but still get the prices. I did a whole breakdown on title choices and so forth. You can go back. Ryan Phillips, who's one of our sponsors, is on my podcast. As Ryan and I talked about in that episode, the seller should really be controlling this. So we're just going to say that legacy, integrity, and foundation, which are all made up, we don't know enough about them to know. The reality is you do this a lot, you do know, but if you're only selling one house every few years, you probably don't. All I would tell you is go back, listen to the episode on choosing title. I also have a short video. If you don't want to do the whole podcast, I have a video on selecting title companies. It's maybe 5 or 6 minutes long. You get what you need. We've got it narrowed down from 7 offers to these 4 right here. So something I probably should have mentioned a little while ago is that I'm not a big pen and paper guy. I use it for illustration purposes, but in reality, if I can computerize something, I do. And I did computerize my multiple offer worksheet and my calculator. If you want either of those files, these are Google Sheets files. Anybody who has a Gmail account can get access to Google Sheets for free. So if you want a copy of this multiple offer breakdown and you want a copy of my escalation calculator here, if you reach out to me either by my email, check the show notes, or if you DM me, I will send it to you. I just need your email address and your name and tell me what you want, and I'll make sure that you get it. I will send it to you. No charge. Enjoy. So to summarize, we've kept offers 1, 5, 6, and 7. And just to remind you, if you're not watching this, offer 1 gave us $242,000 after escalations. It's conventional, and the agent is asking for a 3%, 2% split commission, which nets my seller about $231,000. Offer 6, which is pretty much in the running, offered us $241,000, but it's FHA. They want 2.5% commission, which nets my seller $229,700. So a little bit less, and it's FHA, and my seller's already told me he really doesn't want to mess with FHA offers. So based on that, I may just knock them out, but I want to hang on because I need to talk you through the rest of this. So offer 5 is $230,000. It is FHA. And so the net between the price and the fact that it's low and it's FHA and my seller doesn't want FHA, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to hide offer 5 as well. So now we're down to just 3. The only reason I'm keeping offer 6, even though it's FHA, is because the price is so high and it's a pretty clean offer. They want a little bit too long on the inspections, but we can clean that up. So that's what I'm going to tell you about, is what we refer to as the kill shot. Very often, you'll have a couple of offers that emerge like we did here with 1, 6, and 7. Offer 7, even though it's a lot lower, it's 221 net versus 230, 229 net. The reason I kept it is because they offered pretty good earnest money. They offered appraisal gap coverage of $5,000 and they were conventional. So I thought it's a strong buyer. Maybe we can do something with that. So that's why I kept it in the running. So I'm down to offers 1, 6, and 7. So very often you're going to have this where a couple, 2, 3 offers emerge as potential winners. So if you're very savvy, you can use my kill shot technique to pull out the very best from the strongest buyer. Now, if you don't have the stomach for riding out, say, the next 72 hours of the offer deadline, then that's when you go in for the kill shot. And the sooner you do it, the better it works. So you're going to email them something like, "Hi, we're still sifting through everything that's coming in on this one, but your offer is very strong. So maybe we can work this out now. If you can do," insert whatever terms are going to end the bidding war, "we will accept your offer now and wrap this up today. Does that work for you?" So in this case, you're going to insert, for offer one who was lacking appraisal gap coverage, I'm going to say, hey, if you can get me $10,000 in appraisal gap coverage, we can wrap this up today. We can accept your offer now. Will that work for you? So you're either going to get back a no, in which case I would say, well, thanks for letting me know. It was worth it. It was worth a shot. Just thought I would try. Or you're going to get a counter. Maybe they say, well, I can't do 10, but I can do 5. If that's acceptable, rock on. Do the handshake and move on. And you can skip down to the part where we lock up the offer. If they say yes, fantastic. If they say something otherwise, then just go ahead and move on. And then you can also go to your next strongest buyer, do the same thing. Figure out where they're lacking. So in this case, offer 7 had appraisal gap coverage, but the price was kind of low. So in that case, I might say, hi, we're still sifting through everything that's coming in, but your offer is very strong. So maybe we can work this out now. If your buyer can go to, put in the number, $240,000, whatever it is. If your buyer can go to $240,000, the seller will accept your offer now and wrap this up today. Does that work for you? See what they say. You got nothing to lose because you've got 2 days to kill. So this message delivered the right way at the right time could result in gold. If you want to go really, like if you're a heavy duty gambler and you really want to do this, try putting out something like this to multiple buyers at once and then tell them that that's what you did. So picture it. Day 1, you've got all these offers rolling in. Maybe it's the morning after the first day. So you've still got basically 2 days left. We got Wednesday and Thursday left on the offer deadline. This is the time to pick out your top 2 or 3, especially if they've indicated to you somehow that they would go higher, even though it's the highest and best. A lot of times agents will kind of sneak out there, hey, if you need more. Maybe a lender will say, hey, if you need more, let me know. So they're kind of hinting to you that the buyer's topped out, but not really. So I might gather a few of those up and then do something like this. I would send out an individual email like this. Hey agent, hey buyer, we're just letting a few select strong buyers know what it would take to get the deal done. So the first one to accept our terms will end the bidding. Let us know if that's you. And then tell them what you need. In case of offer 1, I would put in, give me some appraisal gap coverage. In case of offer 7, I might put in, can you give me more money? Can you get the price up? Because everything else about your offer looks good. If you're on offer 6, they need maybe a little more money and definitely some appraisal gap coverage. So these are the kind of things I would look at and put them out to all of them at once. It's a great way to throw gasoline on an already burning fire. So it either gets you what you want really, really fast, or maybe it gets you an arson investigation. I'm not really sure. This episode of Talking Realty is brought to you by our friends at Associates Title. This team is shaking things up by focusing on what truly matters, putting the customer first. Novel idea. Whether you're buying, selling, or investing, for sale by owner, or working with a realtor, they've got your back with incredible cost savings and the latest tech to streamline the process. Their secure online portal keeps everyone in the loop, from buyers and sellers to lenders and agents, all while keeping your data safe and communication crystal clear. If you're getting ready to make a move, don't underestimate the importance of having a great title company in your corner. Check them out today at associatestitleinc.com or call my friend Ryan Phillips at 614-419-2418. Don't leave your title company choice to chance, and definitely don't let the buyer or their agent make that choice for you. All right, back to the show. So if you don't want to do the kill shot and you're down to toward the end of the deadline, or you're somewhere near the end of the deadline, you feel like you've got a couple offers you can work with. Another thing you can do is kind of a soft approach. I would call it tightening terms, but maybe the seller likes offer number 1, but wants to firm up the appraisal gap or the closing date or something like that. Just something you want to clean up right before you accept the deal. So what you're going to do is go to the strongest offer, the strongest terms that you already have on the table, and then you're going to ask them sort of passively. This is another one of my assumptive backdoor approaches. And I might say something like, hey, how much appraisal gap coverage is the buyer willing to offer? Like, of course they're going to offer appraisal gap coverage. We're $20,000 over list price. Why wouldn't they? If you're in a situation where maybe the seller needs time, maybe you're selling for mom and dad, or you yourself, you've got a timing issue because your new place isn't going to be available and all of a sudden you're going to have to move twice or be homeless or something like that. You might throw in another passive type question like, hey, how much time after closing for possession can the buyer offer? Now, a lot of times these offers are going to come in with possession right at closing. They want the keys to the place at closing. Well, if that doesn't work for you for whatever reason, go ahead and float it out there. By asking it this softly, you're not risking having them get mad at you because you're not demanding it. With the kill shot, you're sort of saying, hey, this is what I need from you. But with this, when we're just tightening terms, I'm only just sort of poking around on it, if you will. Hey, I'm just working through these offers. Hey, kind of curious. I told the seller I'd find out how much earnest money is the buyer offering. Now, if they already put $500 on the offer and it's way low, you can try another tack, which is, would the buyer be able to offer 1% or $2,500, something like that, and throw that out there. Now, you're not asking if they're willing to. You're just asking, are they able to? And it's a little softer, and the agent can then read between the lines, hopefully, and go put that together for you. If they say no, they say no. You don't want to alienate anybody just yet. But if you're ready to lock them down, i.e. the kill shot, then you go harder. Hey, we can lock this up right now if you can get me $2,500 in earnest money. Now we've really put the screws to them to say, listen, this is what we need to do. And oh, by the way, bonus, you don't have to ride out the rest of the process not knowing. Okay, so let's assume you've done all this. Either your kill shot, your multiple kill shots, your soft approach, whatever happened, or maybe you didn't communicate much with anybody throughout the whole process, but you've got a winner. You've got one that you're really happy with. You're going to lock it up. And the way we do that is to first have the seller sign it. If you're the seller, go ahead and sign the offer. If you're not changing anything, then you're there. Okay, you just sign it. But you probably do have changes, minor stuff. In this case, maybe we want to clean up the inspection days or, just some little thing back and forth. If the kill shot worked, then we're definitely changing whatever it was. But either way, before you do anything else, before you tell anybody else, before you update the MLS, before you do anything, get that deal on paper. So I like to first email the agent and say, hey, the seller is accepting your offer. We're getting it signed right now, because we don't want any last minute antics where the buyer just couldn't take another minute and walked away. If your seller says yes, or you, the seller, say, yes, I want this deal, let the buyers know right away, as quickly as you can. Just send them an email. We call this a handshake email, where you're essentially shaking hands saying, we've got a deal. Now let's go put it on paper. Then get it on paper as quickly as you can. So if there are no changes, all you need to do is sign everywhere that you need to sign, and Bob's your uncle, you're under contract. Then we can move ahead. But if there are any changes, any edits, any missing documents, any things that needed to be cleaned up from the beginning of the process, let's get all that done and sit on your hands and keep your mouth shut until it's done. Do the handshake, lock up the paperwork. And for Pete's sake, do not announce that you have a deal until you have a deal and it's all signed and all other offers have been notified. This is critical because I want backup offers and I don't want to upset. Imagine how aggravated you'd be. You waited 2 days, 3 days for this bidding war, and then you find out that you didn't win by seeing the property updated publicly. It goes from active to under contract, and you don't know if you won or not. It's just the worst, because now some people are going to immediately assume correctly that they weren't the winner, because why wouldn't I know if I was the winner? Some people, unfortunately, are going to get their hopes up that you've made a decision and it's them and they're about to find out any minute. And then their hopes are going to be dashed because you're not going to announce until your paperwork is sewn up. So this is all bad. Don't do any of that stuff. There are two sides of this, and I see this all the time in bidding wars. I've got the sellers who want to announce the winner before the paperwork is done. Bad idea. I've already talked about it. I've also got agents and non-winning buyers who are pressing for information. And if you're in that seller's driver's seat, you're handling all the communication, it can be tough because they're just going to keep pestering you until you cave in and tell them something. That's why you hire an agent, because I can be that buffer. I can say things like, hey, as soon as I have it, you'll know. We're getting close. As soon as I have it, I'll promise to let you know. Maybe you've got a committee you're dealing with as a seller. Maybe you're selling for mom and dad and you got 3 siblings you got to clear everything with. Just tell them that. Hey, I've got a committee over here, so it's not just one person's decision. As soon as we get it, I'll definitely let you know, but we are getting close. That's also why we said in the announcement that responses will be after the deadline. We didn't nail ourselves down. If you said Friday at 10 a.m., guess what? Friday at 9:59 a.m., your phone's going to go berserk. Everybody's going to want to know why they haven't heard yet. So don't lock yourself in. The offer is Thursday night with responses after that. So that's exactly why we do it that way. Then I got the other side. So I got the sellers who are eager to tell the whole world that we have a deal before we have a deal. So I promise you we'll get there. We'll tell the world we have a deal. But I got some sellers who will have me send the handshake or will make the handshake. Then they get a better offer, or one they hear, this is my favorite, they've got this great offer. We've been sitting on it for 2 days. We've agreed this is the best out of the 7 that were managed to get it across the finish line before the deadline. And then some Yahoo agents books a showing the day after and says, oh my God, I got this great cash buyer. You're going to want to wait. Oh man, I'm going to show it to this buyer, but only if you'll keep the deadline open. If you haven't announced and you can get away with it, have at it. I don't like it, but I'm not in your moccasins. But if you already have a handshake deal by text, by email, by phone, verbal, an actual handshake, you need to honor that. I get that legally those things aren't binding. I get that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you can't break a handshake deal. I'm saying you shouldn't break a handshake deal. Go back to episode 23 of this podcast where I talk all about what happens when you upset karma. It's not pretty. So we've gotten it all buttoned up, right? We picked our winner and we've told the winner that they're the winner. And now we've locked up all the other paperwork and everything is done. This offer is in the books. Do not go to the MLS and announce. Don't tell anybody yet, because you have 6 other buyers who took the time to put in offers. You need to tell them one-on-one directly from you that they didn't win. And there's a way to do it right and there's a way to do it wrong. The wrong way makes them angry and never want to talk to you again. We don't want that, because if anything happens to buyer number 1, I might need one of those buyers. So I have to gently land them and fish for backups. And this, by the way, this notification is the perfect time to fish for backups. We try to lock down a backup offer, especially if there are some strong backups, like the ones that just didn't quite win. In this case, maybe offer number 6, because it was only off by $1,000, or offer 7, which was a lot lower, but it's conventional. They had a lot of appraisal gap coverage. Like there was other good stuff going on there. And frankly, if we didn't have offer 1 for $242,000, offer 7 would have looked pretty attractive. So I'm just saying, it's not a bad backup. And furthermore, you never know. You just never know. So the language we use to agents and buyers is on page 55, okay? 55 in your hymnals. Page 55 of my home seller toolkit, which you can download for free. Just check the show notes or DM me. I'll get it to you. Is the exact email that we sent today to anybody who put in an offer that didn't win. It goes like this. Hi, insert the name of the person you're addressing. Thank you for a very strong offer. It was a tough decision, but we ultimately chose to go with a different one. That said, we'd be happy to entertain any backup offers. While we don't anticipate any issues with the first offer, we've been around long enough to know that you just never know. No doubt, you know what I mean. Please update the offer and resubmit if you wish to pursue a backup position. But either way, thank you for the offer. Best of luck to you, and we really appreciate your professionalism. I put that in there for agents. It would have been great to work with you. Hopefully, we cross paths again. Very respectfully, Glen Whitten. So that is my pitch. I'm not going to read it again because it's kind of long, but that's the email I send out. And I just tailor it to whether it's a buyer who's unrepresented that I'm dealing directly with or whether it's an agent, and I just kind of tweak it either way. But you got to understand, when a bidding war is over, the emotions are very high and most losers are bitter. So the respect in the email not only softens that, but it lets them know that they can and should submit a backup offer. A lot of winners of bidding wars, especially one like this where they're $20,000, $30,000 over list, they're going to wake up with a hangover. This happens all the time. Now, maybe they don't say anything right away, but by God, when the inspections come in, or if we get a low appraisal and there's no appraisal gap coverage, all of a sudden that love that was there is gone. They want their price to come way back down, and they're going to do what they have to do to get it there. So having a strong backup in place, not only is insurance in case they just flake out or they fall apart or for whatever reason that deal dies, now you don't have to go back on the market, but it also serves as leverage, because a bidding war, while it's awesome, it sets you, the seller, up for a pretty long and difficult road to keep this deal together all the way through closing, especially if you have inspections and you have an appraisal. But even if it's cash with no inspections, every day between now and closing, there's a chance that buyer could wake up with a hangover and say, ooh, what did I do? I shouldn't have done that, and look for a way out. Even if they have to sacrifice their earnest money, they'll do it to get out. It's like chopping off your own foot to escape a wolf or something. I don't know if that's a real thing. But having at least one backup offer gives you that insurance, but it gives you leverage. There are 2 types of buyer's remorse. There's real and there's fake. The real ones are the ones that wake up with the hangover, like I said, but the fake ones, they're the ones that say, ha, 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 I've got the cash or the financing letter, so I'm just going to bid this sucker through the roof, and then I'll get it back. When all the other buyers are gone, I'll get that price back down. I'll just beat the hell out of them during inspections, or I'll think up some reason, or I might even just call them up and say, hey, change my mind. I'm going to walk away unless you lower the price. This has happened. So you need a hedge against that. Let's say we put in offer 6 as a backup, $241,000. Even as an FHA, I'll take it. I'm good with that, because now if this first offer, whichever one we accept, comes back and says, hey, I need a $12,000 or $20,000 discount for one reason or another, you can say, you know what, I'll consider it. But my backup offers are a lot higher than that. So I don't know that it makes sense for me to do that. Pretty powerful statement. You didn't say, no, I won't do it. What you said was, it doesn't make sense for me to do that. Maybe reminding them that you do, in fact, have somebody who's willing to pay that same price or darn close to it. You don't have to tell them anything. By the way, you are not legally obligated to tell them that you have a backup. And if you do tell them that you have a backup offer, you are not obligated to tell them anything about it. That backup could be $20,000 lower. You don't have to tell them that. So that's why you want to stay a little bit vague. Like, I'll consider it, but my backup offers are better than this, so I don't know that it makes sense for me to do that. It's a great way to respond. As they say, you can disagree without being disagreeable. You can also bluff, but that could backfire on you if you don't have any backups. But this pitch should get you at least 1 or 2 backup offers. I know it did for this one. So it also depends on what they find. And if they're backing out, or they want out, or they want a huge discount because of something they found in the inspections that you didn't know anything about, and it's scary, like, I don't know, mold or a termite infestation or something like that could get expensive. Or maybe they found out that, the HVAC has got a problem that no one knew about. I'm not talking about it being old. I'm talking about it failing. Something is wrong with it. Or they discover that you need an entirely new sewer line from the house 200 feet out to the road. If they find something really horrible and expensive, it might make sense for you to stick around and deal with them, because whatever they find, you have to disclose to the next buyer, including your signed backups. You can't just go to the signed backup and say, okay, we're ready now. You can't. You can, but if you get caught, I'm pretty sure there's laws against that. I know for the realtor, that's trouble. You have to disclose what you know. So if you get any takers on your backup, you're going to write in their offer. You're going to write that it is subject to a primary offer, and then you're going to write their position. So if this is backup number 1, they're backup number 1, backup number 2, 3, 5, whatever they are. Make sure that's noted in the contract. And then as they move up in position, you will let them know. There's other backup language that has to be included, but we'll cover that some other time, or get a hold of me if you need it. If you get a stinky backup offer, you might not want to take it. I'm just saying you might be better off rebounding. If you go back to episode 21, is all about how we rebound deals when they die and we relaunch the marketing. And I cover that very, very detailed. By the way, all included here. So if you ever have to rebound, that might actually be better than taking some horrible backup offer just to have a backup. That's your call. But here's the thing. If you do take that horrible backup, you have to honor it. So if the first person falls out during the first couple of days, you now have a signed legal document saying that you'll sell it to this other person for these much worse terms. You're probably better off going back on the market, using a whisper campaign, using our rebound playbook. So just food for thought. Okay, so now you've notified everyone. You've done the backup pitch, and now you can go ahead and update the MLS, which is what everybody's waiting for. So I get a lot of questions about, what do I do when somebody says, can you wait? Well, if you've made a handshake deal or you already have something going officially, no, you cannot wait. You can just let that agent know that, unfortunately, we're pretty far down the road, but I'll let you show it for backup if that's what you want. And many times they won't, but try to fish them for a backup. So I'm asking about agents who miss the deadline, that get in late to the party, but their buyer can't make it until Sunday and the offer's Friday or whatever. Just let them know, unfortunately, I can't do that. Because if you make everybody wait that long, I promise you will start losing good buyers. How you do anything is how you do everything, just saying. A lot of sellers are worried about agents who schedule showings after the deadline. They want to know, what should we do? Should we cancel them? Should we tell them? What should we do? No, they're already aware of the offer deadline because I posted it everywhere. So they know. And if they want to move up, we've given them the opportunity to try to show it sooner so they can beat the deadline. For now, we're just going to consider them as backups. People know that deals fall apart. If I was an agent and this was the perfect house for my buyer, I would have no problem showing it to them, just as insurance. The other thing is, we don't have a deal until we have a deal. If you don't have this thing inked, don't tell anybody, as I mentioned earlier. Once we update the MLS and you have a signed deal and we change it from active to contingent or pending, whatever your MLS does, a lot of these future showings are just going to cancel. The problem's going to take care of itself. You don't have to do anything. Some buyers are definitely more anxious than others. So if there is no agent between me and the buyer, it can be very tough to manage. And sometimes the agent is the one, like the buyer's chill, but the agent's like bouncing off the walls. The secret is to manage their expectations. Just when they submit their offer, they know when the deadline is. Feel free to remind them like, hey, thank you. The deadline is Thursday night. We'll get back to you sometime after that. If I have any questions, I'll reach out to you ahead of time. Otherwise, I'll let you know afterwards. Now you've told them you're not going to hear from me. So if they start pinging you, just give them that line I gave you earlier, which is we're getting close. I'll let you know as soon as we have it. Just don't give anything away. There's nothing good in doing this with you. If they want to offer you more, well, that's a different story. But make them offer just like, oh, well, what's it going to take? You know what? Highest and best. Tell me what the most you will do is. Otherwise, we're going to assume what we have is your highest and best. Let them do the work. Let them go back and come up with a better number. If you're one initial away, so maybe there's one little thing that needs to be initialed, but everybody signed everything. We're just waiting for one initial. I have no problems if it's somebody you really are liking as a backup that you really want to stay close and on good terms with. I have no problems telling them that. Hey, we haven't announced this, it's not official yet, but we're basically there. We're just waiting on a couple of initials. If that changes, I'll let you know. If you want to submit a backup, I would love to work with you on a backup offer. And now you've done the right thing. So that's an extreme circumstance. So whether you get 2 offers or 12 offers, the real power isn't really in the number of offers you get. It's in the strategy. You got to be organized. You must compare apples to apples using the multiple offer worksheet or some version of it. You got to tighten down, lock down the best offers, and always try to keep a backup offer in your pocket. If you want the tools I used in this episode or my Google Sheet files, please check the show notes. I'll be happy to share anything with you. And with that, I'll let you get back to your day. Thanks for sticking around, folks. Hopefully you learned a little something, maybe had some fun. Reminder, the Talking Realty podcast is brought to you by the Ohio Property Group, a family-owned company where we sell homes for a low, flat fee instead of a giant commission. You got a question, you got a guest, you got a topic you'd like to hear or see in a future episode, I would like to know that. Just head over to talkingrealty.com and say hello. Until next time, keep making smart moves in your real estate journey. For the Ohio Property Group, this is Glen Whitten signing off. And remember, you can sell it. We can help.